Good evening and welcome to the advisors panel. The theme of this year's Moneycontrol Mutual Fund Summit is how SIPs are empowering Bharat. Well, in the past editions, we have talked about how mutual funds want more and more investors to do SIPs. We have also talked about how we wanted to, as a mutual fund industry, we wanted to get more investors into the mutual fund fold. But today we are sitting here in 2024 and the SIP book has reached 23,000 crore. We have 5 crore unique mutual fund investors. Also, there are 20 crore mutual fund accounts. So mutual fund industry is going through an interesting phase where a lot of money is coming in. And predominantly this money is coming from first-time investors who are young, who are ready to take risk. And they haven't seen a bear market yet. So in this context, the importance of hand-holding and advisory gain prominence. So my first question is to Kailash. I mean, as an industry, if we talk about AMC's distribution advisory, what are the key challenges? I mean, you can look at it, the flows that are coming in, you can look them as opportunity or a challenge. Is the mutual fund industry ready or well-equipped to handle the funds that are coming in?
Is the mutual fund industry ready to handle the funds that are coming in?
Yeah.
I don't know why that question is being asked. We are very, very ready to handle the funds that are coming in. I think the key question out here is that are we ready to handhold the clients that are coming in the manner that they should be handheld? I think that's very important today because if you look at the last 5 years and just alluding to what you said, you know, the new investors have not seen a sustained bear market or a 2008 to 2010 kind of situation or 2000 to 2003 when the markets were absolutely flat and did nothing. I think it's very important to set expectations for such investors in the right manner. Today, the new investors who are coming in, and I think the previous panel talked about it a lot, are coming in with a track record which has been extremely good in terms of returns. The truth be told that the returns in equity over a long period of time are anywhere which is 50% more than your risk-free rate, okay, which is in today's day and age early to mid-teens. So if you are setting the context and educating investors that that's what you should expect, anything above that is a bonus, I think that's what we need to really focus on. Because just hypothetically assume that you end up delivering 18-20% returns this year, I know that many people will be disappointed because they're coming in with a much higher thought process of returns. I don't see money to be a challenge, managing money to be a challenge for two reasons. As India grows, I think there are far many more opportunities where people can invest. So the number of IPOs is growing, the depth of the market is growing. So I don't see that to be a big challenge at all. I think the bigger challenge is managing expectations.
Right. So coming to advisory part, Suresh, the number of RIAs, I mean, if you look at the number, your number is even less than some of the critically endangered species in India. It's less than 1,000. Now, recently, SEBI came out with draft paper suggestions. How do you think they will help? Will they help? How will they help? And do you think more MFDs, I mean, which is one of the key backbone of mutual fund industry, will more MFDs be interested in getting RIA license?
It's a great question. So I'm going to slightly step back and talk about the journey from where we are today in terms of SIP book, or rather the mutual fund industry's growth to, say, 100 lakh crores itself. See, we have done quite well till this point on say, a product-based selling. So that is precisely what has been largely happening. But if you want a growth from here onwards, it has to be a client-centric, advisory-based approach. I mean, the clients definitely have to, it's not a question of how much return they make. I think the last panel, they were talking about the returns and how it is not that very relevant in the overall journey. See, the returns are not really that very relevant. What is truly really relevant is whether the clients are able to run their life the way they want, meet the goals that they want, And if we really want mutual fund industry to reach that level, and I'm saying mutual fund industry because it is one of the most important ingredients in any advisor's portfolio. I mean, all the components. So if we need that, we need to take an advisory approach. We need to take a fiduciary approach. We need to look at what is important from the client point of view. Now coming to the question. So you were asking whether, the steps that SEBI has taken now, will it be helpful? I think I'm connecting what I just said with what steps SEBI has taken. I would really welcome the step that SEBI has taken because, in about 10, 11 years, we have come all the way up to 961. Okay. So now the industry was very, very difficult to operate in. The entry barriers were too high, and the consultation paper at least is making an honest attempt to bring down the level of requirements at the entry level. It is keeping all the other requirements intact. So lot of people in this room, I'm hoping that, will probably transition as an advisor. Once upon a time, transitioning to an advisory capacity was very difficult because as an individual, you can do either distribution or you can do advisory. Now they have removed the threshold of that 50 lakh amount which you have to bring into a corporate, and they have completely made it zero. So many of the mutual fund people, I know that there are a lot of very good people with very good intention who want to make the transition. I think that transition will now happen, and that will propel the growth of the mutual fund industry also, and that is going to be very, very helpful from the point of view of the investing community.
What is the ideal number of RIAs, do you think? I mean, when we talk about 65 trillion assets, what is the ideal number of RIAs you think should have?
Yeah, the SEBI chairperson had mentioned about a 1 million figure. 1 million figure seems to be aspirational, even assuming that the consultation paper comes in its current form. Because see, let us be honest about this. Advisory profession is comparatively a much more difficult profession. So it's going to happen. People are going to test it out, and people are going to embrace it, and that's going to happen over time. It's not going to happen tomorrow. So I would say probably we should look at maybe over a period of time, 1 lakh advisors. I think that itself is an aspirational figure as far as the advisory community is concerned. But I think I would just say that at this point in time, they are taking the right steps. They have definitely sat up and taken notice that this thing is not working. Very happy to note that SEBI is taking those right steps. What will happen to the industry, we have to wait and watch.
Right. Now, Misbah, coming to the distribution side, there are around 1.5 lakh MFDs, individual MFDs in the country as of now. The dream is 1 million. And what more needs to be done, to achieve that number? And the RIA regulations or the consultation paper has come in. Do you think that will help to get more advisors into the fold?
See, if you see and understand how things have evolved over a period of time, today we have reached to a place where there are around 4.5 crore, 5 crore mutual fund investors in this country. In a country where there are nearly 140 Aadhaar, there are more than 75 crores of PAN. And the digital world has made mutual fund available at every nook and corner of this country. The mutual funds have delivered phenomenal returns in the last 25 years. Despite of this phenomenal returns which they have delivered over the last 25 years, the number of mutual fund investors are far lesser than probably the Demat account, or probably people playing around on a Dream 11 app. So somewhere we have to think that if you want to bring in financial inclusion, if you want to give the benefit of power of equity, power of real rate of return to the large part of India, which is a very diverse in terms of its spread, whether it is geographical, whether it is age, whether it is the income group. I don't think so in the world, India would be standing very differently. So if you want to retail it out to this mutual fund product and ensure that it reaches out to a large majority of the investors and ensure that to get an investment in mutual fund is one story, but wealth creation is not a one-day story, it is a 20-25 years of story. So we also need to ensure that distribution channel, whether it is an advisory channel or whether it is an MFD channel, there is enough motivation for that person to handhold him for a longer period of time. Then only we can expect an investor to make money. Baki aaj ke zamane mein, this recency biasness would make investor behave in the most unusual manner at different point of time. Today they have a good appetite of small cap. At some point of time they will run away from equity. You know? So when you have to reach out to this large, diverse population, I think so we have to work together as to one model would not work. Okay, only advisory would probably not work. Even in mutual fund distribution, there has to be different type of people which will come in, because today there are wealth people. I don't think so they are going to come and go to a person who is going to invest 500 and 1,000 rupees of an SIP. So if you want to go and reach out to people who are to invest into 500 and 1,000 rupees on a SIP, there has to be a different kind of a distribution channel. Probably one has to really think and work about, right? So the whole point today is that how we are able to increase the touch points, irrespective of whether they are tagged as investment advisors or they are tagged as MFDs, so as they are honest in their profession and they're honest to their investors.
Right. I also want to talk about the quality of advice. I mean, talking about NJ Wealth, you have 41,000 mutual fund distribution partners. Now, out of this, 22,000 are based in B30 cities. And you have a client base of around 33 lakh, and 22 lakh are, again, in B30 cities. So how do you ensure the common minimum standards of distribution is maintained?
See, this can be done through two ways, and that's what we are doing. One is education and training, which is very, very essential, that how we are training our distributors in terms of the delivery is concerned. And second is creating tools which ensure standardized delivery. So combination of these two, that is training them in the right direction, in the right way as to how and what they should be preaching to the customer, and creating tools which they use. And if they are using those tools, automatically it ensures that there is a standardization to a very large extent when it comes to delivery of the so-called, that you are delivering becomes more standardized.
Right, right. Talking about...
Can I just add something to that? I think one of the first things we all need to do collectively as an industry body, as press, as everyone, is communicate that this is a fantastic and noble profession. Distributors are, I think you can equate them with some of the noblest professions in the country. So we don't look at it like that, unfortunately. And they play a very large part in terms of hand-holding clients' emotions, etc. Right? So I think that's something, if you sit, there'll be hundreds of stories which NJ Wealth will have on certain partners of theirs and how they are grown and how they are helping them grow by doing training, etc. I think it's important for us today as an industry body to, 1 million is not the right thing. If insurance has 2.2 million already and they find the 2.2 million inadequate, why can't we have that big jump in terms of the number of people touching base? The only difference I have, I'm not talking of whether they are RIA or MFD. I think the most important thing is, do we have a person to handhold them? Sometimes a platform, which is a pure tech platform where there's no hand-holding, may struggle during bad times. because you can't cry on a laptop. You need a shoulder to cry on. Okay, I think that is very, very important. So whether you are an RIA or MFD, I think you have a role to play in terms of managing that client. And clearly, we are far short of the number of people we require, because I still think that we have not created MFD to be up there in terms of image in the mass market.
Right. Now, we are talking about hand-holding and quality advice. Suresh, in the IA draft paper, there is a suggestion on part-time investment advisors. Maybe SEBI has done it to offer opportunities to doctors, lawyers who want to come into the advisory fold. Do you think the bar has been set too low?
First and foremost, we require investment advisors. Part-time investment advisors can wait. I think if you look at what SEBI has done in this consultation paper, and if this consultation paper in its current form were to see the light, I think a whole lot of people who are waiting from the MFD community and other communities will troop in as investment advisors. It is my own personal opinion that part-time advice is it is ill-advised. So, because, let us understand this. Advisory is a profession. So, just like a medical profession or a legal profession or architect as a profession, so it is a profession, right? So, there can be no part-time people from some other profession coming into this profession and doing a good job. I don't think it is really possible. What we should actually endeavor to do is there are I believe almost 1.5 lakh MFDs. Many of them will be interested in transitioning, and at least for some of their clients, they may want to do a pure advisory. I think that is what we should aspire to in terms of increasing the numbers, and I'm sure that that is definitely going to happen. So part-time advisory, I don't think is going to fly. This is my personal opinion. I can again be proved wrong. But the first thing that they have done as far as bringing down the typical eligibility requirement is a great idea. And I hope and pray that it flies.
Got your point. Now, when we talk about 23,000 crore SIPs or 20,000 crore average money that is coming into equity mutual funds, the major chunk is coming into thematic funds, small cap funds, or the funds that have done very well in the recent past. Kailash, is there any way to remove or to at least mitigate this recency bias of investors?
It'll be a very long haul. Okay, and I think the previous panel said that. If the entire ecosystem is talking of 1 year returns, how is it going to change overnight? Okay, so everybody has a role to play. You have a role to play as a media house. We have a role to play as manufacturers. They have a role to play as distribution partners. I think all of us have to do it. Will it change in the past? The answer is no. It will be a long haul. So we need to be prepared for it. But I think if we can go by, and this is something which I said many, many years ago, and I'll repeat it. I'll take this chance to repeat it. Maybe somebody in the regulators may listen to it. If we stop ranking AMCs on assets under management and start ranking AMCs in terms of new customer added per year and publish that ranking, you see there'll be a behavior change. Your 4.5 crore customers will become 20 crores in the next 2 years. Because all of us love awards, all of us love ranks, all of us like to be number one. Okay. The beauty about ranking in terms of totally new customers that they have added in the industry, and you can do this every year, the chances that the 43rd AMC also can become number one for 2025. Yeah. And the number 3rd AMC can also become number 37th if they hadn't added investors. And I think SEBI wants new investors to come to this industry. And it's optical that if we stop ranking on AEM and start ranking on such things that we need to promote, I think the behavior change happen much faster than what it is intended for.
Right. Misbah, any views on how this recency bias can be addressed?
See, we as an organization, have been very focused educating the partners about this recency biasness. In fact, we have been in the last 1.5 years, we have been, saying the same story and educating, as I said, is one of the very important aspect. And we are doing our part. All can definitely join doing their part. That there is no point to see a point-to-point return, especially the 1-year return, because the recency biasness itself says that when you see 1-year return, when you see 2-year, 3-year good returns, investor starts building that expectation that the same thing is going to come and repeat over a longer period of time. The best way, one of the best way, of course, to ensure that people don't get into the trap of recency biasness, one of the way, that's not the only way, is to start seeing the rolling returns, as Radhika ma'am also has said in her part. And that's what at an organizational level we have done, is that whenever we are publishing the return of the fund houses, we don't focus on point-to-point, which is only a one-day investor experience of that particular day and it talks about it. We give a lot of emphasis on rolling returns, and especially rolling returns of 5-year, 10 years, though number of funds with that 10-year rolling returns are relatively small. So we give a lot of emphasis on rolling returns. The another benefit which comes out of seeing the rolling returns is that the expectation of the investor, which gets built up by seeing the recent returns, whether it is on a very high positive side or on a very low side, either way the markets is behaving, when we start seeing the rolling return, you will see, if I take an example, if you say a rolling return of a Nifty 500 of more than 19 years and a 10-year rolling return I am taking in, I will get an answer of a median return of around 12.8%, right? So when you start showing rolling returns to the investor, whether it is a fund or an index, there are two advantages which will come in: the recency biasness, or the attraction of the low return, or a distraction from a very low return because the markets are cold would go out, and a fair expectation as to what I should expect from my investments, or return that you should expect from my investment starts building in when you start seeing the rolling return. And that's what we have been doing it. Sir also said we have been educating people on this 2018 story of small cap, where a lot of money came in and it just crashed. So as Kailash rightly said, we are doing our part. But till the time that whole ecosystem start working in a very similar direction, the concept or that recency biasness can go out. Because in most of the article, when we read through as to how to avoid recency biasness, the one answer which will, all the articles you read across, it will tell that go to a professional advisor. So, right? So for an investor to avoid a recency biasness, the answer is a distribution fraternity or an investment advisory fraternity. And somewhere that fraternity has to, behave very, very maturely when they are showing returns to their investors.
Right. Now, talking about the NFOs, I mean, the way new fund offers have come into the market, I mean, over the past few years, at least 100 of them come, and this year alone, till now, 110 or something has come into the market. Suresh, I mean, how do you view this, the new funds coming into the market? And when you advise a fund to an investor, what is the percentage between an old fund or a new fund? I mean, how do you juggle between these two?
As a general rule, we avoid NFOs. And there is a reason for that. The reason is almost all categories, there are existing funds by very good fund managers who are actually managing those funds very, very credibly. We always keep talking about that, about the fact that the past, future is not going to be a reflection of the past. I mean, while I completely understand that, we already know what is the way that particular fund house, what is the track record of that person, how they have been managing. We know that. We have some track record, while it may not exactly repeat. So, if that is the case, why would I want to recommend a fund which is a completely new NFO and it does not have a track record for whatever it is worth? There is no track record. So that is one. Secondly, as advisors, we are focused on the clients. We are not focused on returns. We are focused on ensuring that their goals are met over a long period of time. So we are really talking about, decades. So when that is the case, we actually believe in simple products. So whether it is a whole market product or a large cap product or an international product. So we make do with maybe 3-4 categories only. We are not into thematic, we are not into sectoral, we are not into most of those things. We believe that if the fund manager finds merit in certain sectors or certain themes, it will very well be a part of a diversified theme. So I don't have to play that role. The role that as an advisor I'm playing is that of a financial architect for my client. Mutual fund is playing a much wider role. It is giving us a lot of products which I can take and construct that edifice for my client. So the role is actually quite different. So, I mean, I am looking at NFO not as something directly relevant to me, maybe today, but if that NFO actually plays out and it becomes a credible fund at a later point in time, I have no hesitation in including that in my asset list.
Kailash, your views, as in how...
Slightly differing from Suresh, okay? I think when we say NFOs, we are putting all eggs in one basket. I think that's the first mistake we do, okay? There are two kinds of NFOs. One is a Me Too product NFO, which is mimicking one of your existing products. There I'll agree with Suresh completely. But there are a lot of new types of things happening in the country, environment, etc., where I think there are enough opportunities where the current products may not necessarily fit. Getting a product in that category is not a bad idea to do, okay? Let's also look at the positive of NFOs, because I think in the previous panel also there are questions, NFOs are kind of being bashed. NFOs get new clients to our industry. Whether we like it or we don't like it, the 10 rupee works, okay? New clients come into the industry, they hopefully see a good track record over 3 years and they diversify into other products. So that's a big positive for NFOs. So let's not diss NFOs out of the way. Let me give you an example, and this is a real life example I'm giving. Government of India has announced that they would like the exports to go up to $2 trillion, which is a healthy CAGR of 15% between 2024 and 2030. So exports is a big thing which the government is focusing on. So if I come out with a product which is an export-led product, is it bad for the investor? I am going to ride on a theme which the government is clearly identifying is going to be the next few years' future, right? Then coming out with that product, I don't think it's a Me Too product. It's a completely new product. So I think we need to differentiate NFOs between a copycat, Me Too, just for getting asset gathering as the word was used, or is it something relevant? Is it fresh? Is it new? And possibly something for the future. I think if we can differentiate these two, I think the answer is there.
Right. Building upon that, I want to talk about the product manufacturing side and not necessarily only about HSBC. There are 100 of NFOs coming out. Already there are like 1,000 or 1,600 funds available in the market. From mutual fund perspective, are you getting enough talent, manpower to manage these funds? And what according to you is the ideal number that a single fund manager should be managing?
So I can talk about our fund house, how many. We don't like to have a fund manager manage more than 4 funds. 3 to 4 is ideal. If he manages 8 or 9, then there's a serious challenge because typically they will tend to focus on the products where money is coming in. That's how it works. So we believe 3 to 4, if you're adding more funds, then you need to add more fund managers, and we keep investing in the team. Is it easy to get the talent? The answer is no. Okay, very blunt answer. It is, but we need to keep searching. So it is important to groom people, get them in as analysts, they grow, they become kind of joint fund managers, and then fund managers. It's a journey of 7-10 years. We've had a great track record in that. But I think we need to continue to invest in that particular sphere where we need to keep investing in getting talent and then managing that talent and ensuring we give them all inputs to help them grow.
Right. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. Last question to Suresh and Misbah. Do you think mutual funds are reckless, or do you think mutual funds are reckless the way they are launching new NFOs?
I certainly would not say that. Each of the mutual fund houses, they have a reason why they are launching a particular fund. A lot of them have, a gap in the product portfolio that they have. That does not mean that the investor has to choose all the funds that are coming into the market. So it's a conscious choice from the point of view of the investor. I have nothing against the fund house. So if a distributor or an RIA is recklessly suggesting NFOs, all that is coming into the market, it is wrong on their part to have done that for the client. There is nothing on the part of the fund house who is doing that. Yeah, there are other aspects which have been discussed in the previous panel. I will not get into that. But I have nothing to complain about the spate of NFOs. It increases the options. What we need to select, we are the advisors, we need to choose wisely for our clients.
Right. Misbah?
Very, very similar answer. So till the time the fund houses have a logic and have ensured that they have things in place to ensure the funds are managed properly, I think the most of the fund houses do take care. And it is the ultimate responsibility of the distributor to understand the customer and give accordingly to their needs and the expectation, create a portfolio for them. It's a very large responsibility. I take it on the distribution fraternity to understand the customer and give to them as per their requirement.
Right. Thank you. This brings us to the end of this panel. Thank you, Kailash, Suresh, and Misbah for the wonderful discussion. Round of applause for our panelists. Thank you.